all of you in the audience, to all of our candidates, and to all of the online viewers, courtesy of Colin Plant's group. We're doing the Facebook Live broadcast. Thank you very much, Colin group. On the eve of the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation, we wish to recognize and acknowledge the Moindan peoples, represented by the Saanich and Squamish nations, and the Saanich people, represented by the Sarlit, Alquachin, the Sawat, Sakum, and the Malahat nations, on whose traditional territories we live, work, and learn. My name is John Schmuck. I'm the past president of the Quadra Community Association. Susan Haddon is our president. Susan will give everybody a wave. Susan will be asking all the questions. Karen Dearborn is our past president, and Karen will be waving a 10-second sign telling the candidates when your time is almost up. And I think we also have a couple of past. I think there's 3 past presidents in the audience as well, so there's 6 current and former presidents of the association here. First thing we'd like to do is tell everybody, please pull out yourself. And please turn it to silent. Thank you. We'll have 2. This format will be basically the same as was followed on the Tuesday of night 1 down Quadra Bay. We'll have 2 groups of 11 of each councillors, and we'll have the mayor as the final 3rd session. We do ask you to hold your applause until the entire group is finished. We have a lot of people who want to speak. Basil Langevin, Vernon Lord, Jordan McDougall, Teal Fells-Ponderoff, Art Pollard, Jordan Reichert, and Nina Westhaver. Now you can have some applause. And the candidates each will have 30 seconds for an opening address. They'll have 45 seconds to answer each of the 3 questions they'll be asked, and 30 seconds for a closing statement. So the first person to introduce themselves will be Kathleen Burton.
Everyone hear me okay? Thank you all for coming this evening, and I appreciate that you're being here. My name is Kathleen Burton. This is my 2nd time running for Saanich Council. This time I'm also running for CRD. For those of you who voted for me last time, thank you very much. I hope that you'll vote once again. And I look forward to other people voting for me as well. 10 seconds, holy cow. I'm the Executive Director of Community Options for Children and Families, and you may remember me from Swan Lake Christmas Hill Nature Sanctuary. I appreciate your votes, and I'm being waved at.
Thank you, Kathleen.
Thank you.
Natalie Chambers.
Wow there. Good evening, Saanich residents. It's nice to be in my old high school, although I envision myself in the gymnasium, so this is all wrong. We were supposed to be in a different room. I am a farmer, a restoration ecologist, and I'm a caretaker of 27 acres, 24 acres on Mount Douglas by commercial farm lease. So my interest is in land use. I've been seeking good land use practices, and I'm very much to approve plans and civic engagement. This term, I've experienced a lot of changes to our local area plans, and I don't like it.
Thank you, Natalie. Bianca Chu.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Bianca Chu, and I am a new candidate running this year. I'm a connector, a community builder, and I love actually helping people, which is why I'm here today. I believe in making communities more accessible, and that is really my passions. I worked with non-for-profits for a very long time. I've worked with businesses as well as youth programming. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Bianca. Zach DeVries.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Zach DeVries, and I've had the privilege of serving you as a Saanich councillor for the past 4 years. I've also worked the past 4 years at the Ministry of Agriculture and Food as a senior program developer, where I work to support BC's food and beverage processing sector and our local food systems. I'm looking forward to the proceedings tonight and sharing more with you about my platform. And I am looking to earn the privilege of working for you for another 4 years. Thank you.
Thanks, Zach. Thanks, Zach. Basil Langevin.
Good evening. This election is about our future. Yesterday, I met a young man who's a student at UVic. He told me he was determined to vote in this election because he wants a better future. But he wasn't sure whether he could. Because you see, when this man moved to Victoria to study, he couldn't find a home. So tonight, he'll be sleeping in his van. Is this the future we want for our next generation? I'm Basil Langerman, and I'm running because I believe a better future is possible.
Thanks, Basil.
Thank you.
Vernon Lord.
Thank you. My name is Vernon Lord, and I am standing for Saanich Council like I did in 2018. I am not running for Saanich Council to further my political career, to push any political ideology, or work to reimagine Saanich. Quite frankly, I like Saanich just as it is. I am proud of what we have made here together, and I'm very excited to be part of our future together. With your help and support, we can do that. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Vernon. Jordan McDougall.
Hello, everybody. I'm Jordan McDougall. I don't know, it's probably hard to tell looking at all of us, but I'm the youngest guy running this year. And I'm a third generation Saanich resident, so I don't know how many people can say that. And I care deeply. I have so many deep community roots here that I can't help but care about our community. And that's really driven me to do this because I want to have a future here. I want to raise my family here. I bring a plethora of business and government experience to the table that I want to share. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jordan. Teal Phelps Monroe.
Well, thank you all very much for coming out today. I'm Teal Phelps Bondaroff. I work as the Director of Research for Oceans Asia, a marine conservation group that helps protect our ocean and hunt wildlife criminals around the world. And I'm passionate about community building. I'm the guy that helps build and support our community's growing network of little free libraries. We cut the ribbon on number 650 last weekend. And I'm looking to apply my decades of experience to helping tackle the housing crisis, to make our roads more safe and accessible, and protecting our environment and building a more connected Saanich. Thank you.
Thanks, Teal. Mark Pollard.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Mark Pollard. I'd like to be back in my home riding for my home community association. One of the reasons why I was so inspired to run for office was the Quadra Cedar Hill Community Association. I think there were a lot of great leaders like Vicki Sanders, Karen Dearborn, and our current president, Susan Haddon. And that inspires people because you have to have inspiration to get involved in politics. I've done a lot for the area. I've walked the walk, not just talk the talk on safety issues like block watch.
Thanks, Art. Thank you, Art. Jordan Reichert.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Jordan Reichert, and I've been a healthcare worker with Island Health and mental health and addictions for the past 15 years. I've also worked as an environmental conservationist for the past 7 years. I work with an ethic of care. So compassion, attentiveness, and responsiveness are what I value and how I approach issues that I face, bringing people together. That's what I want to bring to Saanich, and that's what I hope you'll elect me to do on October 15th. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Jordan. Mina Westhaver.
Hello, everybody, and thank you for being here tonight. My name is Vena Westhaver. I was born and raised in Saanich, and my husband and I have raised our 4 boys here. Saanich is my home. I worked for 35 years in the Department of Saanich Parks, Recreation, and Community Services. The last 15 years, I've supervised financial assistance programs. I run 2 successful businesses, Power West Athletics and Soul Sisters Victoria. I'm very involved as a community volunteer, raising hundreds of thousands of dollars for support services and people that need it. I look forward to the opportunity to serve you, members of Saanich. Thank you.
Now, maybe a short round of applause for the fun candidates. Just to explain, the order that we called these people up tonight is totally randomized, so we won't see the same order coming next time. And how many of the candidates are missing Eric running up to grab the microphone? Anyhow, the first question
first question for Group 1 of the Saanich Councillor candidates is, what steps would you take to improve safety for pedestrians, cyclists, and people with mobility challenges? What steps would you take to improve safety for pedestrians, cyclists, and people with mobility challenges?
Natalie Chambers?
Hi there, Will. Thank you very much for the question. What are we going to do to improve our safety here in Saanich? Well, I'm really proud to say we've just slowed some of our roads down. We're going to add traffic calming. We can install cameras. We have to slow things down. We have to properly fund our police so they can regularly, routinely check our residential roads and our rural roads. We need to ensure that we have thought of all users when we do density. We need to make sure the sidewalks are wide enough for wheelchairs, and we need to make sure that our beach strips, wheelchair strips, go all the way down to the beach. We need to make sure visually impaired people have the ability to access every single thing that we all access.
Next. Okay, next will be Kathleen Burton.
I'm just going to leave it there. Okay. What I would do is listen to you and work with council to come up with some great solutions. Natalie mentioned a number of them: traffic calming, making sure that our sidewalks are accessible, making sure that they are also accessible for the visually impaired, the mobility impaired, and then also in terms of safety, slowing things down a little bit beyond the traffic calming, looking at the speed limits, putting in traffic circles where it's appropriate. I would do all of those things and more based on what I'm hearing from the community. Thank you.
Thanks, Kathleen. Jordan Reichert?
Safety is an ongoing process of feedback loop, right? We ask people what's happening in their community, they bring back options and concerns. So for us, reducing the speed limit, increasing traffic calming measures, ensuring AAA bike lanes, and to ensure all the users have access. And I think a really important point that I've heard substantially through the election is making sure that we're taking care of rural Saanich as well as urban roads and streets, because there's a lot of safety concerns out in rural Saanich right now that haven't been addressed and that need attention immediately before someone gets seriously hurt. Thank you.
Thanks, Jordan. Teal Phelps Bonderoff.
Bring my binder up for this one because road safety is one of the things I'm deeply passionate about. I'm on our roads every day, my bike trailer topping up the libraries, and the number of times I've almost been hit is far too many. I'm really actually happy to see a lot of my colleagues talking about road safety measures that I support: traffic calming, lowering speed limits, increasing enforcements. Probably we use cameras instead of cops for a lot of speeding stuff. So I want to talk about something that will set me apart. A couple of people have mentioned listening to people, and I believe that's really important. And I picked up accessibility in the question. Saanich currently has a bunch of advisory committees. We ask people what they think we should do for Saanich, but accessibility is split across multiple committees, so we don't listen to the lived experiences of people encountering accessibility challenges in Saanich. I will create or push to create an accessibility advisory committee. Thank you.
Next deal, Bianca Chu.
I'm very glad to hear from a lot of my colleagues already, very similar ideas that I have as well. Safety is important not just for families, but also for pets, also for people who are sharing these multi-use streets. If what we want to promote is multifunction, multi-shared streets, we need to make sure that we are listening and engaging in different ways as well. I believe in more education as well as different types of engagement to make sure that we hear from all types of people who might not traditionally have best access to provide their feedback. Families are busy, people are stressed. How do we make sure that we have that balance between rural as well as our urban areas? And thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, Bianca. Vernon Lord.
when you're fourth or fifth or sixth down on a list of 11, sometimes it's difficult because everybody's already said what you planned on saying, because we all want safe roads, we all want traffic calming and lower speeds and safe roads. But my particular stance on that is we have to address street parking. We have to work towards reducing or eliminating, in some instances, street parking. When I knock on doors and where I live in the Panhandle, our streets are packed. We can't even move. Some people can barely leave their homes to get to the street because of the cars. That has to be addressed. We have to start looking at street parking issues because it will lead to safer streets, calmer streets, and better environment.
Thanks, Vernon. Mina Westhaver?
Thank you. Looking at safety is a number one priority in Saanich. We know that from our Saanich model. It's very important that we look out in consultation in our neighborhood and all the stakeholders that it involves. I am a strong believer of being out in community and understanding and experiencing the lived experiences of others. I don't know what a lived experience is by someone that uses a mobility device. So therefore, I think that is one of the most important steps. Looking at other models that have been used in similar like communities to see if that model has been effective and allowing people to travel down their streets in a safe way so we can do it here. So consultation, looking at other models, and the most important, working together in collaboration for implementation to actually make it happen.
Thanks, Mina. Zach DeVries?
Thank you. As we know, road safety is one of the most important issues in Saanich, and there's been a lot of talk about different solutions and processes to get there, and that's important. But what we've seen is a 70-year to 100-year build-out in Saanich that's focused on automobiles and not the safety of vulnerable road users. We see this in urban Saanich, we see this in rural Saanich, and a lot of it is that if you want a different outcome, you have to take a different approach. We know the types of infrastructure we need, but we're building it at such a slow rate. So many neighborhoods have waited decades and decades just to see a sidewalk, and that's something we need to change. And I think quick builds are the way to do that because it has the same impact for a much lower cost, so we can do more kilometers quicker. Thank you.
Thanks, Zach. Jordan McDougall?
Unfortunately, before COVID, I was a high-performance athlete for about 8 years, and before COVID, my friend was hit on a road in Cedar Hill biking, and he was paralyzed. And so this is very close to my heart, and I know that a lot of bikers and people doing these active transportations, they go outside the boundaries of Saanich. So doing things like looking into a transit authority would allow safety to not only be contained in Saanich, but at a regional-wide level. Things like speed bumps, and we know which neighborhoods need it because they tell us. I walk down roads and we see the car speeding, and a speed bump would do the same job as a police officer by law, except that you don't have to keep paying it. So putting these quick builds in places that we know, that's great, and we need to do that. Make sure we're not dumping bikes out, onto the middle of a highway where the bike lane just ends.
Yeah. Thanks, Jordan. Mark Pollard?
One of the most vital things in our community is safety and road safety. It took 15 years for us to get a safe sidewalk on Linwood. We went through the grist, through the mill. We finally got it, and it makes such a big difference when you have sidewalks in your community. You have accessibility for the disabled, that's number one. You have all kinds of walking opportunities, number two. Everybody can walk, hopefully, even with a mobility scooter or any type of assistance. Cycling lanes, yes, we've got them, but they've got to be better organized and better coordinated. I'm not in favor of cycling lanes on major thoroughfares, but I am in favor of side streets. And finally, I'd like to believe we can do a better job by listening to what the citizens hear. We've had too many fatalities in our district. Thank you.
Thanks, Art. Basil Langeman.
Well, thank you for sharing that story, Jordan. I think all of us in this audience know that road safety isn't just a technical problem, it's deeply personal. I know my life is being touched by tragedy. I'm sure all of you in this audience know someone who has been the victim of a road accident. Now, I agree with what all of the other candidates are saying on this stage, that we need to be investing in quick build solutions, things that are affordable and that fix our streets quickly so that we're not facing fewer catastrophes. I also believe that the residents who live on their streets know them best, and so I want these solutions to be proposed by neighbors and raised collaboratively with council so that we can address our safety challenges together. Thank you.
Thanks, Matt. Did we miss anybody? If we do during this course of events, please jump up. We're all human. A bit of housekeeping we missed at the beginning. There are washrooms on the upper level out here, just outside the door, right? And the lower level here is the locker rooms. And the doors don't have signs on them. You have to hunt them down. Anyhow, question number 2 from Susan Haddon.
Thanks, John, and thank you for your answers on the last one. This past year, we've experienced extreme weather events like atmospheric rivers, heat domes, and polar vortexes. What specific steps would you take to mitigate the effects of climate change? What specific steps would you take to mitigate the effects of climate change?
Bianca Chu.
This summer, I had the privilege and the duty to work actually for EMBC for a full week to observe and monitor our wildfire situations up north. One of the best things that I really appreciate about the opportunity was being able to be working directly with experts, with the meteorologists, with our local firefighters as well, and being part of a comprehensive approach to better prepare the people of BC and receiving the information on how to help themselves. I believe in a lot of different approaches in terms of combating climate change. I'm so sorry, I am getting flustered, but just a better comprehensive approach by listening to the experts and working together.
Thanks, Bianca. Zach DeVries.
Vast number of years. The last number of years, whether it's been the forest fires or the floods, it's really taught us the importance of investing and having some of the dedicated staff up front. I was part of the Ministry's Emergency Operations Center during the catastrophic floods that hit the province. And what I learned there was the importance of when you're having an emergency, whether it's a heat dome or a flood or whatever it is, it's important to put all hands on deck because the safety of residents and their families is paramount. And I think it's really important that we hone these skills. Saanich has invested well in our emergency management and operations center, but I think we can really maximize that to be responsive in the next heat wave and contact residents and proactively put out tips so that they can better avoid and prevent death.
Thanks, Zach.
Thank you.
Vito Westhaver.
Thank you. Addressing climate change, there are many steps that I would take. First of all, we're all very aware of the processes of the different types of climate catastrophes or tremendous climate events that have happened over the last couple of years. And I think that's what we can learn from it. One thing, no matter what, when change happens, it creates some stress. It also creates an opportunity.
I would take a look at other communities that have experienced similar situations and see what we can learn from their situations and how we can also mitigate
what has happened in our own community. I think that is absolutely key. So that would be one of my number one steps. Who else is going through what we've just gone through? Learn from the experiences, be willing to take chances, be willing to dedicate dollars towards it, and willing to make change. Thank you.
Thanks, Rita. Basil Langevin.
Well, we know that mature native ecosystems are those most resilient to climate change. We're so privileged in Saanich to live in such a beautiful island with our Gary oaks, our native species, and so protecting the trees, the plants that we have here is so vital. Of course, we also need to expand our green space. As floods come, as heat waves come, we need trees that shade us from heat and that roots absorb the floodwaters. And so I would commit to increasing our tree canopy such that every neighborhood street has full tree coverage within 30 years. Thank you.
Thanks, Basil. Teal, Phelps, Quadra.
Well, I said I was passionate about community building, and surprise, surprise, one of the solutions to being more resilient with our climate is building community. The people who are most vulnerable during a heat wave or a flood are the people who are alone and isolated without a support network. I want to hire a social planner, and I know some other people do as well. Someone who wakes up every morning, like I do, and asks, how can we build community in Saanich? And then how can that community be more resilient to standing up against the threats we'll be facing as we try to work against climate change? Of course, we also need to support our emergency response, education, and make sure that we have things like community cooling centers. But ultimately, it comes down to connecting ourselves as a community.
Thanks, Teal. Jordan Reichert.
Is it? Yeah, it is. Look, on Vancouver Island here, we're extremely lucky. Sometimes we're very insulated from the climate crisis. It's almost as if we're in this little bubble and it's happening everywhere else, but not right here. But winter is coming. You know, the wake-up call is right around the corner. It is going to come. And we have to be prepared for that. Because if we're not, we're going to suffer just as much as they're suffering over in Florida right now. Now, when I think about the climate crisis, I realize that it's because of people, right? It's because of people's behavior. And so we have to educate people to make changes both in their own lives and in their backyards, as well as the municipality taking responsibility and being a leader to encourage that change. Thank you.
Thanks, Jordan. Brendan Lord.
A couple years ago, I finally punched my ticket to be a true Saanich resident because I woke up to about 16 inches of water in my basement after some storms. So that alerted me to the fact that we really need to work on our storm systems. We need to work on expanding our green space. We have an initiative to follow. We have a Broker Creek initiative, which also addresses this issue. We need to implement that. We need to make that more serious. Basically, the less concrete we pour and the more green space we have, that's the best we can do at this time with what we have. And we have to keep working towards more green space, more trees, and work on our storm system upgrades. Thank you.
Thanks, Jordan. Jordan McDougall.
Having been involved in the Green Party for a number of years, the environment is definitely is definitely important to me. I think we've heard a lot of great ideas from all the candidates tonight, and the main thing is that they're new ideas, and they might not be ideas that are currently incorporated in the system. So a lot of that is going to be reviewing the processes and updating with these new ideas. Like we need to update our stormwater management system and bylaws to incorporate less common management systems like swales and stuff like that, because we do know that when you 10 more seconds. When you need to increase your green space and you need to stop pouring concrete, and this will bring us resilience along with building community. Thank you.
Thanks, Jordan. Natalie Chambers.
Hi there. Thank you very much. I wrote a book on climate change agriculture. There's not many people here talking about food security. I'm terrified. There's a mega drought coming, food prices, crisis, climate action. This term I ran to re-implement our environmental protection that was rescinded. This council did not re-implement this council. This was our nature, this was our resilience for climate action. Fire, flood, we need to retain our wetlands and our trees to avert climate disaster. We need to retain nature solutions. And this term, I have been witness to the worst environmental practices and ALR practices in 20 years in Saanich.
Thanks, Natalie. Art Pollard. Please hold your applause, folks, at the end.
How many people were here in Saanich in '96 December? Put up your hand. How many people here were happy with the response of Greater Victoria? Climate change has been happening for not just the last 10 years, the last 20. It's been happening for a long, long time. We need to put more efforts into preparation. And I can think of one excellent way we do that, and that is to link the Emergency Preparedness Program, which some of you may have attended their wonderful seminars, with the Block Watch program. You've got two identical resource groups, put them together, and you'll have a cohesive, coordinated, collaborative group that can help in the event of an emergency. We are doing our best on GHTs, and hopefully we're going to do more steps to help.
Thanks, Art. Kathleen Burton?
Thank you. Mitigating climate change, it starts with me and it starts with each of you. One of the things that I'm doing is my Master's of Environment and Management at Royal Rose University. And Royal Rose, UVic, Camosun, we have wonderful universities and colleges here who have expertise in climate change. The District of Saanich does work and can continue to be working with them and work more. We need to listen to the experts in the field. We have places like Swan Lake Christmas Hill Nature Sanctuary where they have incredible naturalists who know what to do. And those are the people that we need to be relying on and partnering with. And it does start with each of us. So we all need to do our part. My thesis is about natural intelligence, which is very much about how nature reacts with you and you with it. Thank you.
Susan will present the third question.
Thanks a lot, John. Good answers, everybody. Thank you. You're almost there. So the third question is, if elected, what would your spending priorities be, and how would this affect taxation? What would your spending priorities be, and how would that affect taxation?
First up will be Natalie Chambers.
Hi there. My name is Natalie Chambers, and this year I've had quite a problem with the amount of what I consider undue influence and the cost this has been for our residents. We this term have suspended our local area plans. We delayed DCCs. Many of these were recommendations by the Mayor Standing Group on housing. Many of these recommendations did not manifest why they were given, which was affordable housing. Now we're licensed blatantly advertising housing, momentum. We've reached our ecological carrying capacity in Saanich. We are food insecure, and we need to take a breather, and we need to get back to our local area planning, because we did listen to residents, and it's in our local area plan, so we need to pick those up.
Thanks, Natalie. Jordan McDougall?
I have started businesses, I've helped businesses grow. My family has ran a business and sustained my life and my siblings' lives my whole life. So I know how important budgets can be. I worked in the government handling billions of dollars, so I know the importance of fiscal responsibility. I've walked up and down roads and I've talked to people who are on pensions, and they've said, listen, our property taxes keep going up. We're gonna have to sell our house and move because our pensions aren't enough to sustain. Life is just too unaffordable. We have to look at ways to diversify our tax base by increasing housing density in key corridors, as well as looking at business taxes. Obviously, we have to keep in mind our inflation and the coming economic turbulence.
Kathleen Burton.
Thank you. Just to confirm, it's asking what our financial priorities are?
Yes, what would your spending priorities be, and how would it affect taxation?
Okay, thank you. Spending priorities for me, based on what I'm hearing from the people that I've been talking to so far, are on housing, safe streets, the mic's going in, housing, safe streets, and then also green space. I would prioritize them. I don't know that I would prioritize them in that order necessarily, but we definitely need to do work on all three of those. In terms of how I would prioritize the spending, I do wish that we would be spending more on protecting the green spaces. I do want us to be buying more land and also considering putting in purchasing of land that Saanich can manage for housing as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Kathleen. Basil Benjamin?
Thank you. I agree with Kathleen. Safer streets, housing, and protecting our environment. Now, we're in a time of high inflation, and so we really need to be looking at what the highest return on investments we can be making as a municipality. And if you look at the math, it is investing in housing. When we create greater density along our corridors and in our centers, the increased property tax revenue from those developments will help fund these projects, these safer streets, the environment that we want to be investing in so that we can have a better home. And as we increase our property tax base through the greater housing, that also has the same effect of lowering the residential taxes. That was a 10 seconds. May I have 5 more? That's okay. It has the same effect as also lowering our property taxes on our residential neighborhoods. Thank you.
Thanks, Basil. My apologies. Teal Phelps Monroe.
Well, I'm really glad to hear other colleagues coming up here and saying that we're going to be focusing on housing and road safety and our environment. And those are also my priorities. You can find them all detailed at my website, teal.ca. I don't want to go into them right now. I think I'll focus on road safety. I've had a project recently supported by Saanich up on Fellowes Crescent where we're experimenting with innovative traffic calming measures. We put a road mural in. Beautiful painting on the surface of the road. It brought the neighbors together. It captured the local identity. And research indicates it slows cars down by 5 kilometers an hour. So things like traffic calming, not only do they save the lives and the lives of our family members and friends and kids, but they also don't need to cost that much. But when they do, we should be willing to spend to keep our streets safe, have housing for folks, and make sure we're living up to our environmental responsibilities.
Thanks, Teal. Art Pollard?
Everybody is focused on some very important issues, but I'm going to look at it from a different angle. And that is the idea that, well, you have to invest in the future to get nice things. The nice twos versus the need twos. We're going to tackle those need twos, but we also want to get to a point where we get to the nice twos. And that means investing in businesses, supporting our small businesses. They are hurting. They have labor shortages. A lot of their labor is sitting on the couch because they've got nowhere else to live. And in addition, we have to invest in businesses like the movie industry, a green industry that doesn't pollute. I think things like that are what we need to bring to Saanich, so we're no longer considered a government and tourist town. We need to diversify.
Thanks, Art. Zach DeVries?
Thank you. So we've heard from candidates a lot about the housing crisis or about our environmental or climate crises and other issues and emerging priorities around road safety and other items. And I think the crux of this question is, what is the impact on taxation? And I think we need to be real about this. If a councillor candidate is bringing forward a platform that is going to say, we're going to reach different outcomes and get you better results, they're not going to be able to do it with the same resources and commitments that we have today. And we need to be sincere about that, but we also have to balance people's ability to pay. And part of the way that we do that is we bring forward the housing, which induces commercial demand and supports business. We use our economic development manager.
Thanks, Zach.
Thank you.
Jordan Reichert? Jordan Reichert?
That means our roads that keep our environment healthy. Now, because an unhealthy environment costs far more, poverty costs far more than not dealing with it. And I agree with my colleagues that housing is a huge key to that. Effective transportation is a huge key to that. I will support policy that puts forward progressive. I'm out.
Vita Westhaver.
Yeah, you know.
If I'm a part of council, my spending priorities will be based on Saanich's main priority of core priority of safety. First of all, making sure that our older adult population still has a place to live. So looking at housing, making sure the youth of our community has a place to grow, has a place to work, and feel safe here. Looking at our marginalized populations to make sure they feel safe. Taking care of those with addictions, mental health issues. So I will be all for supporting those services and partnering with those organizations to make sure we all have a place where we feel like we belong. So safety, housing, transportation, and making sure we all come together. How does that affect your taxes at the end of the year? I know if we are running our budget efficiently, we will be happy with paying a little bit of an increase.
Thanks, Vina. Vernon Lord?
In this environment, this time that we're living in, we always have to be aware of when we're living, where we're living. And my focus will be on the core responsibilities, building our cash reserves, safe streets, and green spaces. I'd like to take a tack and work backwards. I believe we need to target. I have a 4% target. We have to accept the fact and understand the fact that with gas going up, our dollar falling, everybody here that has a family, especially if you have young children, it costs a fortune to raise a family now. We cannot raise taxes. There's just no money out there. There's not. Our residents are tapped out. I am broke every week. We have to be aware of that. And although we have some great initiatives, we would love to raise taxes, we have to be sensitive.
Thanks, Vernon. Bianca Chu?
I believe that there's a lot of work to be done in reviewing, first of all, what we have been doing. As a New York candidate, that's something that I would first take priority in and seeing how we can optimize, because we're doing a lot of really great things. Saanich is a place that people want to live, want to raise their families, and want to retire. So my priorities are about making housing more accessible. They are about keeping our streets safe. They are about protecting all the great pieces of green spaces, as well as our rural and urban areas that people want to live in, and we want to protect that unique beauty that is Saanich. However, I do believe in education, and I do believe in teaching more people, getting their involvement to show that it is an investment as well, and diversifying our revenue streams. Ultimately, I believe in the triple bottom line, and that is people, planet, and
Thanks, Bianca. So candidates, thank you for being very prompt with all your questions. So apparently we are ahead of time. So Susan says we can expand your closing statements to 1 minute. 1 whole minute. Tell us all about yourselves, starting with Teal Phelps-Bondroff.
1 minute, fantastic. So one of the things that I do in my conservation work around the world is trying to come up with creative solutions to stop wildlife crime. I do a lot of work on sea cucumbers lately, and it's pretty hard to make a sea cucumber seem attractive like a baby seal, dolphin, or whale. So I have to come up with really creative solutions. And one of the solutions I want to talk to you about today is a problem that I have, I'm sure a lot of you have. We don't have family doctors. Now, municipalities have limited levers that we can pull, but one of the levers that I want to pull is talking about creating more affordable commercial space. We were talking about affordable housing, but we never talked about affordable commercial space. As we diversify and densify Saanich in our core areas and along major corridors, I want to be putting in a lot more mixed use, so we have that affordable commercial space, giving doctors a space to set up here in Saanich, and then supporting them with permissive tax exemptions. I'm Teal Phelps-Bondroff. Community is one of my passions, and if you elect me, you put an X next to teal, like the color in duck, you'll get someone who's going to fight for affordable housing, for safer and more accessible streets, and for our environment, and for connecting our communities. Thank you all for coming out today.
Thanks, Teal. Bianca Chu.
All right, right back up here. I forgot to do this last time, so I'm going to do it first. My name is Bianca Chu, and I did launch a new website today. So that is www.biancachu, BIANCACHU.com. I really hope that you will come check it out. I am a longtime resident of Saanich. I've lived in over 6 houses in Saanich as a renter, as a single income household, and I went to school at UVic. I worked at UVic for over a decade, so I understand what it is like to love your community so much and want to make this a more accessible, a more sustainable, and more inclusive environment and community so that more people can appreciate it for generations to come. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Bianca.
You're welcome.
Back to the breeze.
A lot of the ideas from tonight are embodied in a lot of Saanich's existing plans and priorities. And one of the hardest things to do at the council table is to help our community move forward from our vision to reality. And on the one hand, we have our documents in the official community plan and other initiatives. On the other hand, we have how our policies play out in complex contexts on the ground today. And when these are not aligned, it requires us to revisit, reassess, and rethink our approach and remain focused on the outcomes that your families and you expect and deserve. This is very difficult work. I've got the skill set to do this. I've shown my efficacy over the last 4 years. Please re-elect me to Saanich Council and elect me to the CRD on October 15th. Mark your ballot at DeVries, and let's continue our work together on these important issues. Thank you.
Thanks, Zach. Vernon Lord.
With it looking like the province will be stepping up and introducing housing options BC-wide, this is the perfect opportunity to concentrate on core services, expand our economic base, introduce commercial zones into single-family neighborhoods, build our cash reserves, work on reducing street parking, and enhance our green space and our parks. We have a lot to do. It's a big job. But when the province does their job, we can stop doing their job for them and get back to building Saanich for our shared future. And in closing, I just want to say that it was true 4 years ago, and it's true today. You cannot spell governance without Vern. Thank you.
Thank you, Vern. Art Pollard.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming out this evening and supporting all of us in our desire to become a council member. One of the things that a councillor has to be above all else is a good listener. But they also have to be somebody that acts on what they hear, listen to the electees, hear them out, and take action. My history over the last 45 years as a community advocate is a lot of work. But to me, it's more than work, it's a joy. And every one of us up here want to experience that joy of being a councillor and the hard work. I've done a lot for the community, and I want to do more, because as you all know, service is number one in Saanich. Hopefully I will have your support on October the 15th. Please vote Art Pollard. And thank you for coming out this evening.
Thank you, Art. Basil Benjamin. My apologies for cutting off.
That's all right. I think it's such a privilege that we're here tonight in the auditorium of Reynolds Secondary, because it gives us all an opportunity to think about the student who was sitting in our seat a few hours ago and think, what does her future look like? This election really is about the future. It's about building homes so that families can stay in Saanich. It's about creating more parks and protecting our existing green space. It's about safe streets and roads. When you're marking your ballot in 2 weeks' time, I want you to think this question. What do I want my future to look like? My name is Basil Lanchevin, and I hope that I'm a part of it. Thank you.
Thanks, Basil. Jordan McDougall?
I'm tired of people saying they want to do things for the students, they want to do things for the next generation. I think that I do represent the next generation. I think that my generation wants to stay. Part of the reason why I'm running is to motivate my peers to vote, to get involved. And my vision for Saanich is a place where it's green, everyone can afford a family. We have the community supports to support one another. We can rally to get that influx of investment into mental health supports and things that are desperately needed. I know during COVID, I experienced mental health issues, and I'm sure many of you did too. And if that's not your vision, I'm willing to listen to you. I'm willing to hear what the community needs are, what the community wants. I've grown up here. I know many of you, and I respect all of you. And I hope that that's why you'll give me a vote on October 15th. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jordan. Jordan Reichert?
I'm a healthcare worker. That's my job, is to care about what's happening to people. And you start by caring by listening. And it's kind of funny, we're all here telling you about us, but it's really our job to listen to you, and you tell us about what's what's happening for you so that we can do something about it, so we can take care of the community. That's what I want to bring to Saanich Council. And something else I just want to bring up as well is that we need to collaborate and consult with Indigenous communities, because that hasn't really been mentioned tonight, especially just before such an important day. My values are trust, accountability, transparency, diplomacy, and compassion. If you share those values, then on October 15th, please vote Jordan Reichert. You can learn more about my campaign at jordanreichert.ca.
Thanks, Jordan. Natalie Chambers?
Hi there, my name is Natalie Chambers, and before I forget, I'm seeking re-election and election to the CRD board. But first of all, on the eve of Truth and Reconciliation Day, I'm hoping that we can all look beyond highest and best use in ecosystems and begin to incorporate all the other species. This is where I have an issue. My passion is public engagement, and what I wish to do is remove the developer influence out of public elections and out of the chambers. They are costly. They are the reason I believe we do not have environmental policy. We do not have proper climate action. We need to remove the developer influence out of the chambers. It is not appropriate for people with in-stream applications, those who may have donated to council, to actually make recommendations on First Nations land. I'm very sorry this is inappropriate, and my promise to the First Nations and my understanding of the territorial acknowledgement is it is not appropriate to accept money from stakeholders on stolen land.
Kathleen Burton?
Okay, so I'm going to give you just a little bit more about me in closing. I have a 25-plus year background in nonprofit management. I donate to the community both my time and financially. I volunteer within the community. I've been working with the Saanich Police as a community liaison with a big 6-foot-tall mascot named Ace for the last 7 years. I love being part of the community and part of Saanich. And I hope that you will take the time to visit my website at kathleenburton.ca. If I haven't had the chance to speak to you, I know many faces in the room, but there's lots that I don't know and I'd love to get to know. So please reach out to me, and I'd love to have a chat with you, and I hope that I can have your vote on October the 15th for both Saanich and the CRD. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Kathleen. Mina Westhaver?
So I am a new candidate, but I'm not new to community. A lot of people were surprised to see me stand up, and I explained truthfully to them. I knew one day this was on my list of things to do because it was something I could do for community, but I was going to do it when I was older. And then I realized I was older. It's also now a time in my life where I've opened up some time. My children are older, but I have proven myself in community. I've done things that people doubted. I've created opportunities. I've raised money. I've built rooms in our local hospital, and I will continue to do that because that was the need. I don't know everything, but I know about process. I know how to be fiscally responsible, and I might not know you, but this is what I can tell you. If I need to know somebody, I will come out and meet you. If I need to learn something, I will take the time to learn it. If I don't know where something is, I will take the time to find it. I will be your voice in community, and I'm dedicated to that. I base my decisions on my 3 top values: honesty, integrity, and trust. And I'd be honored to serve you. Last but not least, I'm last on the ballot list.
Thank you, Mina. And that concludes our first round, so a round of applause, please. Thank you. Thank you very much. We'll have a very brief break here. If anybody needs the washroom, remember the washrooms are on the upper level there, clearly marked. Lower level, they're the locker rooms. You have to hunt them down.
Hey, Jordan. Much better.